Hey everyone, welcome to Life Her Podcast. We have an amazing guest, Brandon, with us today. He is a passionate educator, author, and community leader in Akron, Ohio. He is also a founder of Dreams Academy, Kings Academy, Queens Academy. He just got everything going on positive for our youth. With a background in education, music, mentorship, Brandon has dedicated his life to empower young black males and now females as well, helping families build stronger relationships. His mother's raising black sons. Brandon is now preparing to open a school, continuing his mission, and also creating a change in the community. Hey, Brandon, how are
What's
you?
going on? I done got nervous now after you read all that.
You know what's so crazy? Everybody say that after I intro them.
Yeah. I was cool a little minute ago. We was just shooting. I'm chilling.
Yeah.
We good though. We good.
But you lit though.
All right. I'll take it.
No,
Thank you.
I understand though, because a lot of times we do things genuinely and we don't really sit back and think about a lot of the stuff that we've done. And you need to know you dope.
All right.
And it's okay to pop your ish sometime.
All right. All right. I'm gonna pop it all show then.
Yes, please do.
All right.
That is too funny. But first off, I want to start off what was it like growing up and what inspired you to even reach to this point from going from music to actually mentoring youth?
So like my childhood was dope. So I grew up. I don't want to talk like everybody listening from Akron, but I grew up on the west side. You know, we went to Bookdo and all that. But I almost ain't make it to Bookdo because I lived on Collier Road. If you know where Charlie's Ribs was at.
Yeah,
Fortunately, I lived on the
like in
right
the country.
Yeah, back in the country. So I lived on the. Had I lived on the other side of the yellow line, I would have to go to Copley.
Okay.
And so I lived on the right side of the yellow line to be able to go to Bookdo. But before that, I went to private school, and so man, I ain't gonna lie. Walking in Bookdo day one as a freshman, it was a whole different experience. I had never smelled weed before.
Ooh.
I walked in. I kind of liked it a little bit. I was like, "What's that smell?" Yeah, I ain't know. And not that I was sheltered. My dad was a pastor and whatnot. Yeah, we was out in the country. But yeah, that was a whole new world that I loved every minute of it. So yeah, went to private school. My father's church was in a city called Alliance, Ohio, which is about 45 minutes from here. And so our daily routine was getting out of school. One of them would pick us up, and then we would head to Alliance because he was very active in the community down there. And so, you know, while we never moved to Alliance, I was pretty much raised down there. We come home and do it again every day. And so, you know, that was kind of the hustle and bustle of our childhood. Like, even though my dad was a pastor, he wasn't like, you got to be in church. He wasn't that kind of cat. Like, he was like, you know, you coming on Sunday. And then, you know, I started playing music. So I was the organist at the church. I was the drummer first, and then I was the organist at like 13. But it was never like pushed on us, you know what I'm saying? And so we got to run the streets down there and hang out with folks. And, you know, a lot of those people down there are family to us. And so we still have those connections, even though he retired back in 2006. But that was a very special place. So I had to kind of best of both worlds, been able to grow up here in Akron and, you know, see what was here and then be in another place and watching him. So as far as inspiration, that's my dad again. You know what I'm saying? Just I didn't know till I was grown. You know, because I played music, I made decent money. Like even in high school, like I don't know if you remember, I worked at Athlete's Foot for years.
Did. I remember that.
For years. So you know, I couldn't dress, but my shoe game was on point because I was getting them discounts and stuff. But aside from that, I was playing music, and so you know, I had a couple dollars and whatnot. But you know, I didn't know how much attention I was paying to my father and the work he did. And so he had a place called the Hope House down there. And it was a drug treatment facility, but it was like a community center. It was a big red house just in the middle of the city. And, you know, anybody could come in at any time, get a meal. You could get clothes. When Katrina happened, you know, they had displaced families come from New Orleans to move there. And, you know, it was just a place where people could come and get support and help and different things. He actually taught Bible study there on Tuesdays, and it's like before social media and all that. Like it would be people just on the porch listening through the window and stuff like that. And so when I graduated high school, I remember my mom was like, "So what you about to do?" I was like, what you mean? I'm playing music. I'm at the shoe store. I'm doing okay. She's like, nah, you getting a job or going to college?
Ooh.
And I was like, yeah, I didn't plan that out. And so because it was an alliance, I said, well, I'll apply to Mount Union. If I get in, I'll go. And so we did. I did get in, and that's where I went. And I wasn't excited about that. That wasn't on my radar.
Right.
When I chose my major, I just opened the book and said whatever it fall on to is what it was. And so I ended up getting a degree in mass media communication, which is funny now. All these years later, we doing stuff like this.
Yes.
But we so far ahead now. And so like back then, our focus was radio and writing. It was corny, but it was 1998. And so, so what that did was put me, like, our family was close, but that allowed me to have a further insight to what my dad was doing, because now I'm in Alliance, living there, going to school, watching what he does. And so, I didn't realize till I started all this that, like, man, I'm my dad. And so, that's my guy.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I see that you mentioned your dad a whole lot throughout this intro.
Yeah.
It's very amazing because some Black men don't have their Black dads from growing up, and just for you to take the knowledge that and you're sowing it into the community now with other Black young men, what lack do you see a lot in the Black community when it comes to young Black men not having fathers?
Man, just presence. I would say presence first, and so that I get the question all the time, like, man, you came from a 2-parent home. How does that really translate? And it's to that question. Like, I get to see what's missing because I had my dad around. And let me clarify, my dad's very much alive right now. Like,
right.
People, I was telling this story somewhere, the kids was like, oh, I was like, yo, wait, he around, he cool. But yeah, just presence, and even just the difference between right and wrong. And so, back to going to private school, my dad was very like, hey, you go to a school where the leadership is white, and so they already have a preconceived notion about what you might do in life, and so you got to act accordingly. And it's sad that you got to do that, but you can't go in here tripping. Like, I remember from 3rd grade on, my dad was like, hey man, because you're a Black man, you're already marked, and you're marked to fail, and you kind of got to carry that with you. And so, having him kind of reinforcing those messages, that's what I think is missing. And unfortunately, a lot of our Black males can be irresponsible, creating families and not stepping up to the plate to really take care of them. I've gotten calls from dads saying, why is my son in your program? I'm active. I'm like, first of all, you got to take that up with whoever signed him up, because I don't know your situation. But the fact that I even got that call multiple times, where I'm like, hey man, I ain't got nothing to do with that, but you are more than welcome to come with your son. And if you can use that as an extension of time, to spend with him, like, come to the program and see what we doing, because this is not a program that says because you don't have a dad, you're here, so we gonna try and take that place. That's not what we doing. But we are trying to instill positive messaging and skills and different things in them that you might wish dad would be doing at the house on his own, but may not. And so I don't get kids just from, parents where the dad is not around. That's not the case, but most of them do come from that demographic.
So crazy, like what you saying that the dad's calling you and stuff. And a lot of people take things in a negative aspect when it comes to growth and it comes to you elevating the community and doing positive things and giving them a lot of knowledge to become a better version of who we are. We've made mistakes in our life. Our parents made mistakes in their life, grandparents, down the line, generational. I don't see nothing wrong with us actually mentoring them and telling them our wrongs for them to make rights. How did you really feel about the fathers reaching out to you like that? Like, seriously.
So it happened a couple of times, and one of the guys I knew, and I was like, dude, like, come on, man, like. But both times I was like, yo, show up. Like, don't just call me and fuss. actually come and see what it's about. I will say in both cases, there were circumstances with the child's mother,
Okay.
you know, and it was like, that's where I had to be like, hey, man, whatever y'all got going on, like, I don't even know. Well, I knew the one, but the other guy, like, he was big mad. He was like, you know, this, I'm active in my son's life. You know, I see him. I was like, hey, man, like, I don't have a dog in this fight. Somebody signed him up. I don't know y'all. I don't want no parts of that. But why don't you just come with him? Like, why don't you come help me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And neither one did, unfortunately. But yeah, I don't know how I feel. With the one I knew, I was like, dude, come on, man, like, you tripping. But yeah, the one that I remember that gave me the most flack, I was just like, hey, this ain't none of my business for real. Like, yeah, y'all gotta go on with all that. We just doing what we do. So you are more than welcome to like show up, help out. I said, you can just come sit and watch. Like, it don't make me no difference. But even in that, his presence, I felt like would have been a positive for even his son, you know, because we didn't know him, you know, and y'all come do it together. Unfortunately, in 9 years, I've met less than 20 fathers.
I believe it.
And that's probably over 1,000 kids.
I believe it.
Yeah.
When I was doing Fidea, I could probably count on two hands of me meeting fathers and mothers.
Yeah.
You know? But it's like when a kid get in trouble or something is serious happening and get involved, the defense that people have with their kids, when you should be more into actually seeing what they're doing and be a lot more active, and then you'll get to know them on another level. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows their kids, but sometimes they do some different stuff when you ain't around.
When you ain't around.
Yes, they be doing some stuff, but just seeing that, it hurt me a lot. Mm-hmm. It hurt just seeing like how parents really just don't be involved like that. And some of them, it's not even intentionally because they working a lot. Yep. They doing it by themselves. Yep. They don't have no help, nothing. Like if that co-parenting was there on both ends and the support of family in a traditional way and everything, a lot of kids will be a lot better and feeling loved, you know, the attention.
I always say if those things were doing everything they were supposed to do, we wouldn't need Dreams Academy or Fidea. You know what I mean? Even if you look at it like culturally, I was looking like, do white kids have mentorship programs? They got boys and girls clubs, or they going and play ball and
camps.
They going to camp and stuff like that. But it's not like mentoring is really, I call it another level of raising a kid.
Yeah,
you know what I mean,
or
we not
psychology.
It's all of that
and all of that stuff that come with it.
Yep, and I feel like we are one of the only cultures that I can find that is necessary and needed for so many reasons.
Man, so what is the lack that you see as far as young girls having mothers with the relationships that they have?
I can't. I'm not prepared to answer that because for real, I set the program up. Mm-hmm. After you gave me your blessing, you know, I called you first. I was like, we not doing this, you know. So Vet was already the GOAT in the city, you know. So we didn't bother with the girls because it didn't make sense. You know what I mean? With a city this size, you were already doing it. But when you pulled back, I remember that was our 5-year anniversary. I called you, I was like, hey, you know, if you tell me I can't do this, I'm not gonna do it. But since you said and for real, man, God has blessed us with a team of people.
You got a good, dope team.
Yeah. I'm really, really proud of them. And so I go to Queen's Academy, but I just kind of go and say hi.
Okay.
So they know who I am, but I let them run that. And they tell me the different stories. One thing I think I can say about that is they deal with a lot of emotional issues, a lot of emotional trauma and whatnot. But we got a phenomenal team of women that really pour into them. And the other thing I like about them, too, is they get cool. Like the mothers, I see a different dynamic with the mothers of Queen's Academy girls with that team. Like they calling them all the time versus my team of guys. You know, you got to be careful with that a little bit because it's women. You know, my one guy, he married. You know what I mean? It's a little different dynamic. But with the girls, they always talking. And so, I really love that dynamic. But they they facing a lot of emotional stuff. And the guys are too, but I think it's on different levels. Our guys, I think their biggest emotion that they deal with the most is anger.
Yeah.
And the girls, they kind of everywhere with all the stuff because they,
Yeah.
do I want a boyfriend? What's going on with me, and just a lot of other different. It's just different.
Okay. So on a business side
Mm-hmm.
of you running all these multiple programs, you got a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
How are you mentally and financially when it comes to you doing this? Because you literally started from the beginning of the bottom of everything.
Mentally, therapy is very important.
It is.
It's very important, very needed. And for real, I don't even get to talk business in those areas because having everything I got going on affects the personal life. And so, some years ago, I got in some trouble, and that forced me into counseling.
Okay.
And it forced me to go. And one thing I always tell people, I'm a super big advocate for counseling, but if you just going to spin the wheels, you just wasted your time. I wasted 6 months just going because they told me to. And then
Man.
it was like 6 months in, I was like, something clicked. It was like, let me embrace this and really figure out why I'm the way I am. Why was I doing what I was doing? And I didn't quit. Like, at this point, I no longer have to go because somebody telling me to go.
Right.
It's necessary. I got 2 counselors, that kind of, I think, do different things for me, but
Right.
it's so necessary. And I'm grateful for them. Just to be able to, maintain sanity, just to have conversations so that you become self-aware,
Yeah.
and being open to criticism. Like, nah, B, you jacked up. Like, you got to fix that, or you could have handled it this way. And so, I feel like I'm probably in the best headspace I've ever been in.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's a blessing.
yeah, it is. It is, especially with everything going on in the world and all that. And it's so to go to the next part, the financial part. I think that helps me. Like, all right, I got to figure this part out. Like,
Yeah.
so like our city funding ended in 24.
Okay.
At the end of 24, coming into 25. So now we back to the grind, and with what we're trying to do, opening this school and stuff, is the biggest grind I've ever been in. Like, this is literally the hardest thing I've ever done in life. So
Wow.
I got to maintain my sanity,
Yeah.
and the pressure of now, not only moving, we're not moving away from our mentoring, but expanding to this place where I'm accepting the responsibility of teaching your child every day. So I'm accepting the responsibility of being a bad person when I mess up.
Yeah.
For I'm accepting a parent going on Facebook saying, "Don't send your kid to Dreams Academy because they ABC."
Yeah.
And I got to embrace all that. So I got to be clear
You
because it's
do.
gonna happen because we not gonna be perfect year one. We not ever gonna be perfect.
Exactly.
But I got to be in a good place to where, because I've seen it happen to other people. Now I'm really putting myself out there to catch, major criticism, which is funny, from people who have never started a school, but is gonna criticize how I started school. And so
Always.
I'm cool with it. It comes with the territory.
It does. But at the same time, even though a lot of that criticism and everything comes with the territory, it's still hurtful at
Oh
the same
yeah,
time because you coming from a good place
yeah,
and you trying. But I think sometimes people lack the knowledge when it comes to us actually starting from the bottom of actually building a business. And a lot of times this is an experience that we never
never had.
experienced
Yep,
before.
yep.
We have to fail. We have to make mistakes. We have to do things wrong to make it right.
Yep.
And it's not even intentionally of
Right.
us doing it. It's just helping us grow. It's just how God built us and
Yep.
want us to view things because God is always with us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? We here doing his work, but we not perfect at it
Right.
either.
Right.
But we just trying to make the best of it as much as we can.
For other people at that.
Yes. Yes.
That be the thing when you're in a lane where you're serving and you're trying to,
Serving is hard.
yeah, like literally. So I'm the organist at the church and went to church today and got a text like, "Hey, can you talk to my nephew after church? I'm like, I'm off the clock. Look, I'm on the clock for something else.
Yeah.
But, it was just like, yep. So after
So
church.
how do you create boundaries then when it comes to stuff like that? Because you have to.
Yeah. I haven't changed my phone number in maybe like 20 years. I said when the school start, I'm getting a new number.
For real?
Yeah.
Ooh, wait.
Like, I can't, like, something small as that. Like, I'm cool with being accessible. And I didn't have no problem with the young lady reaching out today. But it's literally like texting me in church. I'm trying to play, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, I need to holler at you after church. I got my nephew with me. Think y'all can talk? It's like, all right. But yeah, like trying to figure out how to maintain boundaries, still be accessible, and not look like a prick while doing so.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But you always gonna look like that when it comes to boundaries.
Yeah.
Because when you start creating them, people will get pissed at you because nothing isn't going their way of what they're used to receiving from you.
Yeah.
So that's like a normal reaction too. But you got to think about your mental health too at the same time when it comes to stuff like that, because we'll crash out. A lot of people be CEOs of these major companies, and next thing you know, they committed suicide.
Yep.
And then everybody questioning why. You had everything. You did this. You did that. Well, a lot of times people do stuff to us or say things about us and everything, and it creates people to crash out.
Yeah. Yeah, I literally thought about that today. Like, yeah, it might be time to change my number when we get to this space.
You could still probably get another phone for personal family or something.
Yeah.
And have another phone off. That's what I end up doing. I have another phone too.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And
that's another bill. Hey, but sometimes that boundary calls for a bill. So, I get it.
It do, but you get you a cheap bill.
Yeah.
It don't gotta be no it get you a flip phone. You know what I'm saying?
I can't do that.
I can't. I'm
do that.
cheap.
Yeah.
I am cheap.
I ain't there yet.
Mm-mm.
I ain't there yet.
No.
But maybe I get there. But no, boundaries are hard, especially when you want to help. So I had a great conversation with the little fella, but it also was like, I'm here for this. You hit me for that. And had it not, I ain't gonna say that. I knew her well, so she knew she could ask me. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
It comes. I wake up every day and say, I asked for this. That's what keeps me going. Like, hey, I asked for this pressure.
Yeah, you gotta toughen it out.
Yeah. Right.
It's dope though. I'm really proud of you.
Thank you.
To even just keep going. I couldn't keep going after taking the losses that I took.
Yeah.
I don't know. My mindset is different. The way I view things is different. My triggers are different. Just everything is just different to a point. I don't have the mental capacity for something like that. I got mental capacity to still help, but in a different way.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want like the closeness no more.
That's great awareness to have, though, to just be able to say, I know what I can do and I know what I can't do. So I help you with what I can do.
To counseling though.
Yeah.
I had too.
Hey, I tell them all the time, y'all stuck with me for a little bit. So,
yes.
Yeah, it's very necessary.
For real.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your first book that you had, Talking Points.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about it.
So I wrote Talking Points in 2021, I believe. And it wasn't even one of them things like I want to write a book. Like I just started writing one day because I'm like, I'm doing this work. What's another outlet to help? So in that case, help single mothers because that's my demographic. I said, let's write this book to be a resource for them so what Talking Points is a resource where it covers challenging conversations that one may say, I wish dad was in the house to have these conversations. So we talking about sex, hygiene, emotions, police, race, violence, things like that. And so I was getting feedback from a lot of my parents. They were like, hey, can y'all do a dream session on this? Because I don't know how to have this conversation at home. So I was like, all right, well, let me write a book just in case we can't have a dream session on this. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I did. And so every chapter kind of just tells a story and some explanations on different things. And then at the end of each chapter, it's called conversation starters. So where mom can sit down and be given some bullet points to how to start the conversation, and just have a conversation with their sons to try and ease that burden, because we know it's hard on both. It's hard on mom to have the conversation. It's hard on son to even want to listen to that.
For real.
Especially from mom. And so I know little boys that start coming to their own. They don't want to talk about sex with their mom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I try and take away some of the awkwardness and really create a space
That's nice.
for positive results.
That's good. So tell us also a little bit more about your new book that you have.
So the new book is in a whole different lane, man. I got to figure out how to maintain alignment sometime. It's called Grit Game and Giving Back. And that's really been about the nonprofit journey of starting our own nonprofit, trying to maintaining it, and some of the drawbacks and roadblocks that we came up against in doing so. And actually, a lot of it is doing so being an African American, because this game, and I call it a game on purpose, is really different. I don't know about different cities, but I can say how it's been for me in a city like this, where everybody knows everybody, where whoever the major players are, bless you, whoever the major players are the same players across the city. And so there's a lot of rotation of the same people doing a lot of the same stuff. So you get a lot of the same people sitting on boards, you get a lot of the same people chairing this committee and doing things like that, where it becomes difficult to navigate, because it's like, man, I'm bumping into y'all again.
It's really difficult.
It's very difficult. And then doing so as a young black man, so I'm talking about some of the players I'm talking about, they've been in the game 20 and 30 years. So they in their 50s, 60s. And it's like, man, when is a new regime of leaders going to come through that can help push some initiatives through that aren't so much handpicked by the players? Because, everything is relationship, and I get that. But sometimes it makes it difficult.
Yes, it does.
When those relationships are with the same people, and y'all putting on the same people every time. Yeah. And so that's been a frustration for me.
That was a huge frustration for me. But it's so crazy with me podcasting now, and from it just being like real route and international, I have met a lot of individuals that can help with that. So I am definitely going to get you their information. But when it comes to that, it's so frustrating, because it's like you doing God's work. You trying to make change. You trying to do a lot of stuff. But if you're not cool with this person and you don't have a relationship with them, or if they friend don't like you or dated you or something, it's like
a lot of politics.
It's a lot of politics. And it like blocks you from doing that. But it's like, put aside the personal stuff on how you feel and look at the vision. Look at what I'm doing. I'm trying to help these kids. You hurting the kids. You're not hurting me. And I wish like some people would see that when it comes to things like that, because even just networking, sometimes you see the same people in the same thing. They're taking pictures and doing different stuff, but we're talking about the same things over and over again and not taking action. Like, when we gonna start making these moves and actually start doing something? You know what I'm saying? Because when we come together as a community and be positive and actually think about the mission and put our egos to a side, we could get so much done, man. Like, so much. And I just wish people actually see that and realize that on many occasions, because the way the world is going, we as a community, we have to come together some way, somehow. And I hate for it to be so like such a tragedy for us to come together, instead of us doing something now and we already be ready for something.
And that's what happens with something tragic. Everybody holding hands for a week or two. And then we back to
it's always
normal.
a week or two.
It don't last long.
It
Don't
don't.
last
It
long.
don't. And it be messed up because it's like some tragedy will happen, like a killing,
Mm-hmm.
maybe. And we'll fight for it,
Mm-hmm.
But the fight don't last long.
Nope.
We gotta put things in place, and then educating these kids, letting them know it's okay to be a politician.
Yeah.
It's okay to be a doctor. It's okay
Yeah.
to be a lawyer. We need more of those.
Yeah.
We don't really hear kids talking about that's what they want to be when
Nope.
they grow up.
When we do like, anything thinking forward about, what they might want to be, I tell them an entertainer and athlete is off the table.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying that you can't be one or that you won't be one, but like we got to talk about the real statistics of it's only 400 something cats in the NBA. So all of y'all in this room is not going.
Yeah.
We will never see probably in our lifetime another LeBron from Akron, Ohio. So, well, we saw Chris Livingston. He made it, to the league. But that's two people.
Yeah.
I'm 44. You know what I mean? And so I might not see 5 kids from Akron make it to the NBA. And so we got to have those real conversations. It's okay to aspire to that.
Yeah.
But what's next? Like, everybody can't be a YouTuber.
Influencer.
The whole thing of kids get online to watch other kids play online.
Play a game.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so who gonna come fix the electric at the house?
Yep.
And they make great money.
Yes.
Who gonna, plumbing,
plumbing,
all of that kind of stuff. Like we have to think about that, but we also in this place where those things aren't cool.
Yeah.
So they not thinking about them because they thinking about everybody else and that influence of, well, I want to be this. Man, figure out how to be the best plumber you can be.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna make plenty of money.
Yep. Home inspector.
All of that.
It's just so much stuff that they can do as far as trades and all of that for them they don't have to go and get a college degree.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They can do
I used to be a
vocationals.
huge advocate of that. And now I'm like, man, I ain't even using my degrees. I mean, kind of, but,
yeah.
And,
I mean, unless they, you know what I'm saying, going to law school or something like that. Yeah.
But let's
at
figure
the same
that out.
time, yeah.
So you don't come out with $100,000 worth of school loans that you're going to have a hard time paying off.
Yeah.
So it's trying to have those conversations in short, like, mentorship is short time. So like we get our boys and girls, we get them for 90 minutes a week.
Yeah.
And they right back into their chaos,
their
environment and their routine. So, I love seeing those aha moments, but it's also like, but that routine, like they're so used to everything else. And so that, that keeps us going with it, all that stuff is working against each other.
It is. So with you getting ready to launch your school in August,
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the changes that you plan on doing when it comes to kids actually recognizing these things and still educating them and preparing them for adulthood overall, even at a young age?
So I think one of the biggest reasons we are starting at kindergarten is because I've been doing mentorship so long. So I'm getting these kids at 10, 12, 15, and they already programmed.
Yeah.
And so,
get them early.
Get them early at kindergarten. That's what my church say, give me 8 hours. That's kind of like our tagline. Give me 8 hours to help create, not change, but create and mold the thinking of these kids so that when they are 10 and 15, they don't need King's Academy. And, not to say we're not doing good work or whatever, but you're not bringing them to us because they behaving crazy and being influenced by all this other stuff. But we've created young men who are leaders. We've created young men who can think critically, who are self-aware with their emotions and different things like that. And so it's all of those types of things. We want to start working with them at a very young age. So we're starting at K2, so kindergarten, first or second grade.
That's great age.
Yeah. I mean, it's the very beginning for them.
Yeah.
And so, while some of them may have some habits that they practice that, are negative, we're going to try and work really hard to like drill in them. And another piece of that though too is working with their families. So it's just not with the kids like, hey, if we're teaching this at school and if you're at this school, I need you to train your environment at home to be consistent. So they can't come to school and we got this set of rules and they go home and y'all got this set of rules to a point. You know what I mean? I don't care about laundry and all that, but we got to work together on how we create and maintain a good balance of what life looks like for this kid. So it has to be consistent.
Yeah, it definitely do got to be
Yeah.
consistent. What do you think about the lack of kids not knowing how to read and write in today? Because it's pretty bad.
So it's so many factors in that. And you mentioned one earlier. Like, if I'm a single mother, I have 2 or 3 children. You know, a lot of times we talk about in education the lack of parental involvement. It's a lot of mothers that are not involved, not because they don't want to be. I have to
Yeah.
choose parent teacher conference and keep my lights on.
Yeah.
So I have to go to work. It's not that I don't want to show up, but I got to make a choice. And so, along with choices like that, we have a lot of kids now that are being raised on tablets
Yeah.
and not educational programming on the tablet. They're being babysat by YouTube
Yeah.
and all of these things. And so, and this is not a generalization of all parents, but I understand the factors that play into some of the things that are getting done. And so, in Summit County alone, more than 50% of kindergartners show up at school with no foundation in reading or phonics.
That's true.
So, you know, we realize we already starting at a deficit. And so we got to work that much harder to erase the deficit and get them up to speed.
Yeah.
Because we want them reading at least at their grade level, you know, by the time they finish out a year. And so, you know, going into year 1, we don't know what that looks like just yet, but we up for the challenge.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big challenge. I'm a big, huge fan of Montessori. I love it.
Okay.
I'm like, I love it so much. But I just like the fact of just teaching the kids the basic skills, learning how to hold a spoon or feed themselves, fill their plate up, pour, just like the little simple basics, because a lot of kids don't know that.
Yeah.
They don't know the fundamentals of it. They don't know the cognitive skills of it, the fine motor skills of it. And it takes so much for you to actually do that because they don't know. So it's like you teaching a blank person mentally and showing them, and you really got to have the patience for it too, because it'll send you like, what the heck? And you know, parents, just imagine a mom, you know, a lot of moms now that I know, like even at my daycare, they working 10 or more hours a day.
Multiple jobs.
Yes,
a lot.
they working. So by the time they want to help their kid with something, they frustrated. They gonna get an attitude and everything, but it's not intentionally. It's just like, I'm tired. I done dealt with these people at work. I done dealt with trying to get help from some like just everything all over the place.
A lot of frustration, a lot of trauma. It's a lot of,
it is.
you know, I'm working 2 jobs so I can get out of poverty. You know what I mean? And so it's a lot that comes with all of that. And unfortunately, sometimes the kid has to get the backlash
They do.
of a situation he or she didn't ask for.
They do. And it's so crazy because it's been like traumatizing to me with me being in childcare. I've been in childcare since I was 18 years old. You know what I'm saying? But I've watched mothers and fathers be in a relationship, and then when the kid come to daycare, you know, from infant on up, a lot of them don't even pass being together when the kid hit 1 year old.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They going through it. And then, you know, a lot of people aren't educated on postpartum when it comes to mothers going through things like that. Most people ain't got the patience to be dealing with that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just so much that comes with it. And we just got to continue to find ways to educate mothers and fathers and children, aunts, uncles, just a village of people. So I really appreciate what you're doing. It's pretty dope.
Thank you. So I did start a new podcast. It's always something, man.
Okay.
But it's called Raising Kings.
Okay.
And it's for single moms. And
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So I don't know when this will air, but by the time this air, that'll be out.
That is really good. It gives time to vent and see and hear their perspective
Yeah.
of a lot of things. Because I was raised by a single mother.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? My mom did a lot,
Yeah.
a whole lot. And when she passed, well, I'm going to basically say when she retired, she only lived a year
Oh
after
wow.
her retiring.
Okay.
But when she passed, they gave me like this form because she worked for the city of Akron.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking at how much she was making. It was like $4.95, six something. And when I saw the house, that her first home that she bought, she was literally making like seven something an hour.
Wow.
And she wasn't even permanent with the city just yet. She was still
Wow.
working seasonal. And then even when she passed, she was only making like 16 an hour, but she managed and found ways to
Mm-hmm.
leave me and my brother at home.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
she wasn't making nothing, so that was like very empowering and
Yeah.
inspiring. And the way these single mothers have superpowers, it
They
needs to
do,
be studied. And I'm
they
so
do.
glad you
They
got
do.
that podcast
They
for
do.
it so
Yeah.
people would know. And it's a lot of, I don't want to leave the men out because I do have fathers that are raising their kids
Right.
too. And they are super dope. And it's like super new to them
Mm-hmm.
as well. It's a lot of fathers I know that develop custody
Mm.
of all of their kids and
Okay.
raising them, and the moms aren't in their lives either.
Wow.
And it's becoming very common now, like extremely common.
Okay.
And it's like a shift
Mm-hmm.
going on. So it's a lot going on. We just gotta keep putting it out there.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
do. It's a lot of work though.
A whole lot of work. A whole lot of work. No
So-
days off.
So what else do you have coming up?
Man, you know what? Literally trying to open this school is my entire focus right now. I mean, along with the book and the podcast, that's part of it. One thing I had to do was figure out how to align everything I was doing. I was doing another podcast called Dear White Teacher,
Yeah.
and it was going all right. But I literally heard God say, "You in the wrong lane." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And he was like, "Why are you doing that when your lane is your whole audience is single mothers for the most part?" I was like, "Okay, new podcast."
Okay.
And so that's where that stemmed from. And to try and put people on the show that I'll speak to everything that we just talked about. So yeah, that drops next Sunday. The first episode drops next Sunday, which is
That's
March
dope.
30th. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, man, opening this school is the hardest thing I've ever done. And so I was blessed to get in this fellowship starting last July called the Drexel Fund. And the Drexel Fund chose 4 people from across the country to literally walk us through how to open a school. So it's myself, a guy from Cleveland, a lady from Carolina, and a lady in Miami. So all year since last July, we travel to go see different schools. We sit in conferences and classes together. And so we just all been on this journey at the same time. I believe my guy in Cleveland is doing a Montessori school, I think. I'll have to check and see. But that's been such a blessing to not have to walk it alone. And so it's like, y'all know y'all crazy for wanting to open this place where kids about to come to and drive y'all nuts, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we might be a little different. But
It's gonna
that's
feel
been-
good.
yeah, that's been my goal for years. Even before dreams turned into what it is now, my goal was always to have a school. And so here we are. And I can't talk about it too much. I'll start crying.
Oh.
Yeah, and all that. Like when I think
So-
about the first day of school and all that stuff, man, I just see
Oh,
the
you
vision
gonna
of it.
cry. You
Oh
gonna
yeah,
cry.
I'll be crying all the time anyway. Just thinking about it.
So speaking of crying, you might cry off this.
Uh-oh.
So tell me how God has been good to you. No, for real, because I love asking my business owners this because it's spiritual,
Yeah.
and a lot of people skip that part when it
Yeah.
comes to owning a business, and people think we do it alone.
Yeah.
Even though we have a village of people helping us, but at the end of the day, when we lay down, we just got him.
Yeah.
So what has he done for you?
You ain't gonna make me cry. Not today. I've been to church once already today. Man. So okay. All right. So one thing very unexpected happened to me in October. Um, so because I'm a musician, you know, I get one of my income streams is music, and I was fired, let go, whatever word you want to use, um, from a church in October. Didn't have been there 7 years. No problems that I was aware of. You know what I mean? And I was traveling with the fellowship and got a call that I was being let go, and didn't see that coming, and was told I was being let go so I could focus on my school. Um, you know, now if I need additional focus time, you would think I'm coming to you and say, "Hey, I need some time to get some things
Yeah.
together." So I didn't need any time to focus, and I could go into what I think. But either way, that slashed my income greatly, which also would have been money I could have been putting into the school. And man, when I say this is what we in March, I haven't missed a beat, not one. Like, nothing about my life has changed, and I'm like, to that point, the church I was already at, which I'm still at now, City of Joy, it has allowed me to be there, just be there, and help as much as I can. So what I thought was punishment, or whatever the negative word is, it was it was one of the most freeing blessings that I really had to change my thinking and be like, because I'm mad, I like money, you know what I'm saying? It was a pretty easy gig, hour service. I could do it and get to my church when I get there. But man, God has nothing's changed, not one thing. If anything, life is better, and that's no indictment on the previous church, because I love them dearly. But man, God kept me through that, and that was a emotional time, because I had to grieve a place I loved. You know what I mean? And I really just, like, I was in this funk at the beginning of the year, and I was like, man, am I okay? Am I depressed? Like, I've never really felt like I felt what depression is, like, where I don't want to get out of bed and any of that. But I was in this funk, and my counselor was like, man, just think back, just go back 6 months, look at everything you've lost, people, money, just, it was a variety of different things. I was like, wow, like, maybe I didn't go through the journey and, like, grieve it properly, whatever that means. But she was like, yeah, you're grieving. I was like, man, God kept me through this mess, though. Like, even forgiving people that they haven't asked for forgiveness, and even relieving myself from holding grudges. You know what I mean? So, man, ain't none of this happening without God. Like, I know how much money I need to raise by August. God ain't gonna bring me this far. I have people that have already signed on to work for me that are walking away from their jobs. So the pressure of that is like, I have to do this now, not just for them, but for these kids, these families. People are dependent on me, so I can't fold.
Yeah.
And none of that gets done without God.
It sure don't.
Nah.
One thing I've learned over the years of being a entrepreneur is the failures, the removals from, like, friends, family, and even losses of business or people close to you and stuff like that. I developed that, in a sense, is a blessing at the same time, and it's a part of your growth.
Yeah.
God give us things to actually see, for us to actually learn from it. And when we learn from it, we're going to run into that situation again.
Yeah.
But we're going to know how to handle it differently.
Yeah.
And we're not going to take it in internally, or we're not going to take it personal, because a lot of things isn't personal.
Yeah.
A lot of things is the walk of God and what he wants you to do, the direction, how he wants you to see better and a lot clearer.
Yeah.
And just not the main thing is really not taking it personal.
Right. Right.
Like
Right.
seriously.
That's one of the 4 agreements. Don't take it personal. And it's hard. It's easy to say, like, yeah, that's
Oh,
one of the 4
it's
agreements.
very easy to say.
To do it is can be challenging.
Yeah, it's very challenging, but what I've learned also is being successful pisses people off.
Absolutely.
And so it has become an addiction for me to always be successful, to always piss somebody off. Because it actually brings out their character.
Yeah.
You know, you can know somebody for so many years, and when you do something for you and just be you, it's going to piss them off.
Yeah.
Why not keep going?
Let me make you matter.
Matter.
Yeah.
And it make you greater.
Yep. It is fun though. It is like
it's fun. Like when you think about it, it's fun. But when you got a counselor, long as you have like isolation season for yourself, and long as you continue to educate yourself, read, keep God in your life, journal, when you do things, self-care, you're gonna be all right.
Yeah.
You're gonna be cool.
My self-care piece is I love it. It's great. You know, I'm a foodie, so I'm gonna take myself somewhere crazy. Yeah, I'm taking myself somewhere crazy.
Eating that nasty food.
No, I ain't talking about chitlins and stuff. I'm talking about, I'm gonna do that too. I'm talking about the lobster and the crab legs and all that. Yeah, I'm doing all that, and so that is very, very self-caring for me.
That's good. Yeah. That's good. So, how can people get in contact with you, or connect with you, or even donate?
Oh, let's talk about the donating first. Then
that's
the most important. Matter of fact, I can send you a graphic with all the donation methods because we got Zelle and Cash App are both Dreams Academy. And then you can go on our website, dreamsacademy.life. There's a donate button there. Our address is P.O. Box 13383, just in case you want to send a check or a money order. I know that ain't the way of the world right now, but some people still do it. So 13383. Akron, Ohio 44334. I think that's all the donation methods. I think, or if you see me in the street and just want to hand me some cash, come find me. Mr. Dreams Academy on everything, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I don't do well with it as much as I would like, but I'm on there. And then for the Dreams pages, We Dream USA on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you, Brandon.
No, thank you. This has been dope.
This is really dope. Yeah. I really enjoyed our conversation. I appreciate you.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much.
Yes. Well, thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Life Her Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and also listen to Life Her Podcast on all major platforms audio. See ya.